everyone! If you're new here, my name is Crystal, also known as the Book Gypsy, and today I'm going to be showing you all the books that I've read in January. I had a very successful reading month thanks to the Whodunit-a-thon that me and Carol Marie Reids have hosted. It wasn't too much of a success for others. There wasn't that many people that joined along, but to the ones that did join along, thank you so much for joining. We had a great time, and I'm sorry that I was so busy and I couldn't answer everyone's comments right away, but I tried my best. But anyway, let's just get into the books that I read rather quickly. I just want to show you what I decided to read. So the first book that I finished was The Dry by Jane Harper. I do not have a physical copy of this book. I read it on my Kindle, and it was an excellent book. I really enjoyed it, and I just didn't guess the ending either. It was a perfect mystery thriller, but it also kind of read like literary fiction as well, because you got a lot of backstory about the characters, you got a lot about their lives and their past, and there was flashbacks, which I really enjoyed, and it was definitely a whodunit type of mystery. It was perfect for the Whodunit-a-thon, so I gave that book a 5 out of 5 stars. It was the first book that I finished in 2019, and I'm so happy that I started with that book because it actually helped me get out of my reading slump that I was starting to feel at the end of 2018. So it definitely boosted me up, and I've been wanting to read ever since I finished that book. The next book that I finished was I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Reid. This story was excellent. I've never really read anything by this author before. I don't really know how many books that this author has out at the moment, but I will read more from this author. The twist in this book was not expected, and I knew that there was some kind of crazy, disturbing twist that was going to happen, but I did not think it was going to turn out the way that it did. It starts off with the two main characters, a boyfriend and a girlfriend. They are on a road trip in a blizzard, basically, to go meet the boyfriend's family. Now, the whole trip in the car down, the girlfriend is thinking in her mind that, you know what, I don't really care how this turns out. Like, I don't want to meet his parents because I'm really thinking of ending things. And I just, like, you know, whatever, I'll act however I want and all this stuff. And she knows that, like, when she leaves there, they're gonna end things and she'll never see him again or these people again, and she just won't have to worry about the impression that she left on these people. But throughout the car ride, she starts to see, like, oh, but I do like him, and, like, all these things go through her head, and it's through her point of view pretty much the whole book. And then they get to the house, and, like, some weird things start to happen to her, and she's just, like, she's going on an adventure in the house alone, trying to sneak away and, like, look at, like, things that are left around the house and try to figure out who these people are. And it's a really interesting book. It's definitely a psychological thriller horror story. It's quite small, but this book has a lot to it. This book is pretty big on the psychological front, so if you are looking for something that's gonna mess with you a little bit, if you enjoy books like that are thrillers but also have horror elements to it, and super psychological elements to it, I highly suggest this book. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars because at the end I was just like, what the heck did I just read? What just happened? So, like, there was some, like, weird parts in this book, so it's not necessarily a 5 for me, but it's definitely a 4 out of 5. It was highly enjoyable, and I might revisit it again just to see if there was anything that I missed along the way the first time. The next book I finished was The Lies We Told by Camilla. This book was really good. I did give it, I want to say, a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed the story. I felt like it was a little slow paced in the beginning, and I really wasn't fully invested in the story until probably about like 100 pages in. But I really enjoyed the two different timelines in the story, and I really enjoyed how, you know, the characters from the two different timelines connected towards the end. Well, more towards the middle of the book, because, like, the big twist kind of comes out in the middle of the book, which was kind of a little disappointing because you're kind of done with the story by then. But so much more does happen, but it's a lot of pages, and you're kind of just like, okay, the big reveal happened. can we end this in 20 more pages? So that's kind of how I felt. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. It starts off in 1986 it starts off, and it's a point of view of a mother whose child is showing signs of being a psychopath, and she doesn't know how to reel it in and control what's happening. And she's seeing these signs, and her daughter is hurting things, hurting people, and she doesn't know what to do, and her husband is not helping her very much. So you get her side of it and like what she's going through dealing with a child who is sick, and then you go into 2017, which is like today's time, and a girl is dealing with the disappearance of her boyfriend, and her boyfriend has disappeared. She doesn't know where he went. He had a major job interview. He didn't even show up to that, and so she's trying to piece together what happened. And as she's piecing together what's going on and where he went, she discovers that her boyfriend had a stalker. So it kind of goes from there, and the story goes on, and I don't want to tell you much more if you are looking to read this book, but I really did enjoy it. I didn't really love the girlfriend character so much. She was a little like whiny, but most of them are in these thrillers. I'm just starting to feel that thrillers are very fabricated today, and they all just kind of follow the same guidelines when they're being written. So there's always this crazy twist, like you just know like the plan of the story when you go into it. So I'm kind of getting like turned away from mystery thrillers, but this book was a little different in my eyes along those aspects of being fabricated. It was pretty good. So I highly recommend it. Like I said, I don't want to tell you any more about the story if you want to read it yourself. The next book I finished was No Exit by Taylor Adams. I loved this book so much. This was my favorite book that I read for the Whodunit-a-thon. I can't even express to you how original this story was to me, and it kind of reminded me of Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I got that pit in my stomach feeling where I had to keep reading to find out what the heck is happening. Every page I felt like there was a twist, a turn, something crazy happening, and it starts right off the bat. It starts off with a girl and a group of people who get stranded at a rest stop due to this huge blizzard that is stopping them from traveling on the roads. They cannot go any further than where they are at this rest stop. So she goes into this rest stop, and the people seem a little like weird to her, but she's just like, whatever, I'll just chill here and, you know, try to get my shit together, because her mom is sick in the hospital and is dying of pancreatic cancer, and how her and her mother left off the last time she was with her mom was not on such good terms. So she's sitting there thinking of all the things that she wants to tell her mother before she passes away, and how like sorry she is for being the way she was, and that how her mother was a good mother, and all this sad, sappy stuff. She goes out to her car to check on something, and she looks into a van parked next to her, and there is a child's hand in plain view through the window, and something just made her look there, and she sees this, and basically shit happens. So if you are looking for a new thriller, a new author to you, I would definitely check out No Exit. You will not be disappointed by this book. I couldn't guess the ending. I really couldn't guess the ending. I couldn't guess the twist. I was completely intrigued the whole time. I could not put it down. I think I started this at 9 a.m. and I finished it by like 1:30, 2 o'clock p.m. on the day that I started. I could not put it down. The only thing that was stopping me was getting something to eat and going to the bathroom. That's it. So definitely recommend this book if you have not read it already. It was a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. And the next book that I finished was An Anonymous Girl by Greer, Hendricks, and Sarah Pekkanen. This was our group read for the Whodunit-a-thon, and I enjoyed it. I don't think it was the best thriller that I've read ever, because No Exit wins that award for me, but I didn't love it. I really enjoyed the premise, because the main character is a makeup artist in New York City, and I too was a makeup artist in New York City at one point in my life, so I thought this was a really cool, and I knew the struggle of money and all that stuff, so I thought this would be a really cool book to pick up, because I can kind of relate to the main character. But it didn't really like surprise me in any aspect. Like, it was a good book, the writing was okay, everything kind of just panned out. There was no like big reveal or big twist to this story. So I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's basically about a girl who is a makeup artist and she's struggling for money, and she comes upon doing this survey because one of her customers decides, I'm not gonna do it, and she sees it pop up on her cell phone, and the girl's cell phone, and she's like, I gotta do this, I need to make money, like I have to make ends meet. So she pretends to be this girl and she goes in to do this study and kind of just gets wrapped up into this doctor's life. It's pretty crazy, like psychologically. So if you want to read something a little bit more like stretched out story-wise, like it's not exactly the best pacing, this book, but if you wanted to if you liked The Wife Between Us, I'm sure you will love this book, especially if you like their writing. So I recommend it for like not everyone, but if you are someone who enjoys reading mystery thrillers all the time, you might enjoy this. Next book I read was Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, and I hated this book. The twist was really cool, and I loved how it was revealed at the end, which I'm not going to tell you because it's like I think this book was like the hashtag WTF, the ending kind of thing. And it was pretty crazy at the end, but this whole story leading up to it, I was just so bored. I was really so bored by this book, and it's really not that long, but it took me a long time, 2 readathons to read this book. So I don't think I'll ever revisit this. I think I'm going to unhaul this book. I really just didn't like it, and the twist was cool and I liked the twist, but everything else about this book I just did not like. So this was definitely my least favorite read of the month. If you've read this book and you enjoyed it, please tell me why you enjoyed it, because I would love to know. Maybe I missed something, I don't really know, but from reading it, I didn't really enjoy it at all. And lastly, the book that I finished in the month of January was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I love this series. This is a reread for me, getting ready for the release of King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I'm so excited. That was a highly anticipated release for me since the moment I heard she was writing a book about Nikolai. So I wanted to kind of refresh myself on the series a little bit, and I'm glad I did. I mean, these books are so good, and I don't really love YA fantasy as much anymore, but this series just still takes the cake for me. I love it. Every little element that's in here, and even like those typical YA tropes, it's just not super prevalent in the series. Leigh's writing is excellent. The way that she pans everything out, like before you even know it, you've read 100 pages. That's how quick these books go. So if you are looking to start the Grisha trilogy because King of Scars is coming out and a lot of people are rereading Six of Crows, do it. You will not be disappointed. The series is excellent, and just believe the hype on it. It's that great, and I love Leigh, so maybe I'm biased about it, but the characters are just so good. I'm also in the middle of reading Siege and Storm right now, so I don't want to count this in my January TBR because I am filming it ahead of time, but I probably will have it finished by the end of January, so I guess I will semi-count that in. But of course, this is a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Great book. Yes, I love it. So that is it. That is all the books that I've read in January so far. I had a great reading month. I really enjoyed majority of the things that I read, and I wanted to read more. I just couldn't read more. I went on vacation, I was working, it was just a lot of stuff happening. But I read a lot more than I thought I was gonna read, so that was a good thing. So on that note, I will be talking to all of you guys very soon. Bye!